Skeletons of the Marital Closet by Tang. Chapter 1581. Matthew and Mary saw through each other. The two seemed to be thinking of each other, a pair of unfortunate lovebirds. "Are you done? Don't worry, you two will be together for a lifetime. No one will tear you apart," Gale spoke up. She would not accept Matthew staying in City. Matthew should stay with Heather. That was his choice, and thus he should continue being with her. "Gale, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Although I wasn't involved and didn't know about what Heather did, I still have faults. You certainly have faults. You took her and made her jealous, which gave her a chance to harm us. She is the mastermind, and you are the one who caused all of this." If Matthew had not been with Heather, none of this would have happened. Gale finally understood how she disappeared years ago. The truth revealed by Heather and the details described by Mary about Gale's disappearance matched perfectly. Gale's suspicions were correct. It was indeed Heather who did it. "Yes, I made too many mistakes. I couldn't face you or Mary. Gale, I don't want any money, and I am too ashamed to ask for it. Just let me and Heather go," Matthew said. That was his only request now. Gale did not answer. She just looked at her biological father. "I'm having heart surgery tomorrow. After the surgery, Heather and I will leave immediately." Matthew's voice trembled a bit. Matthew dared not think about fighting for the company, assets, or shares. Keeping his life and being able to take Heather away was already the best outcome for him. The wind blew stronger. Overhead, dark clouds shrouded the sky. It was going to rain, and it would likely be a heavy storm. Gale's skirt fluttered, the black dress making her skin even paler and more delicate, giving her an ethereal and aloof appearance. But was she truly distant? No, Gale was just very conscientious. Her sharp tongue made it hard for others to see her softer side. Shawn was the only one who could see it, and he understood. Seeing Gale still silent, Matthew asked again, "Gale, what else do you want? Just tell me, and I'll do it. Whatever apology you want, I'll do it. I've let you and Mary down." "Gale, didn't you say that you'll let me go as long as I admit it? Actually, you just want to trick me into telling the truth, right? People like you, who seem righteous, full of benevolence and morality, are actually very filthy," Heather asked. Matthew quickly pulled her back. Why would she fan the flames? Chapter 1582. "I need to say my piece. I've decided to reveal the truth. I've kept silent for so long. Holding on to this secret has been unbearable. It's time to let it all out." Heather was determined. "I never regretted taking Gale away. My only regret is that I had the chance to kill her and I didn't take it." Matthew turned pale with fright and immediately covered her mouth, preventing her from saying more. No wonder Natalie had such a stubborn temper. Matthew did not understand before, but he finally understood after Heather's outburst. Like mother, like daughter. Both were insensitive troublemakers. Gale chuckled softly. "Why are you so flustered? I just took a little longer to respond. I never said I'd go back on my word. All I wanted was the truth." It had happened, causing a series of consequences that were irreversible. Ever since Heather had taken her away, Gale had lived a completely different life. What difference would it make even if she settled the score with Heather now? Could she go back? Could she undo everything? Heather said, "Whether you want to kill me, torture me, or let me go, it's up to you. You decide." Heather continued to butt heads with Gale. She knew that Matthew would be pitifully left alone if something happened to her. Then Gale might look after him, as he was her biological father. Gale looked at her. I was silent just now because I was thinking about whether to take you to my mom and make you apologize to her. We are the biggest victims. Heather, you changed my life. If not for you, many things wouldn't have ended up this way. She should have married Arum. She would not have experienced so many ups and downs in life. She would have lived an easy and carefree life as the daughter of the Yard family. Heather mocked. You are a victim? Gale, you are the biggest beneficiary. Speaking of which, you should thank me. Thank me? Yes, because of me, you were able to meet Shawn, marry him, and become the illustrious Mrs. Wood. The Wood family is one of the top families in Sea City. The Lefting family is not even worth mentioning compared to the Wood family. Gale almost laughed out loud. Fine, you have your twisted logic. I don't want to argue with you, but you have wronged my mother, right? So what? She has everything: money, power, a daughter, and a son in law. I only have Matthew, Gale said coldly. It seems you don't want to go to my mom. With Heather's attitude, apologizing to Mary would be pointless. It would only infuriate her. She had just recovered a bit. She would not be able to withstand Heather's sarcasm. Gale's eyes swept toward Matthew. I, Gale, want to be true to my own heart. When I think of you, my biological father, I want to be able to face myself without any regrets. She did not want to have nightmares anymore. She did not want to leave any room for self-blame. She just wanted to sever ties with him. Matthew, go to the Civil Affairs Bureau and get a divorce from my mom. Matthew replied, All right. Their marriage should have ended long ago. Chapter 1583. Matthew and Mary were incompatible from the start. Tomorrow, your heart surgery will proceed as planned. The doctor said there's not much risk. After the surgery, I'll arrange for your transfer to any hospital outside Sea City, Gale said. Which hospital are we transferring to? Any hospital away from here. Gale intended for Matthew to leave immediately after the surgery. Okay, no problem, Matthew responded. After the transfer, never set foot here again. No problem. Good. Our relationship ends here. From now on, we'll never see each other again. She was forceful. She then turned and walked away. She was decisive and resolute because she never wanted any association with them again. Shawn's sharp gaze swept over Matthew and Heather, a clear warning. Promises made must be kept, otherwise he would not hesitate. Shawn swiftly caught up with Gale and took her hand. Their figures grew more distant, disappearing on the path through the cemetery. The sky darkened completely, and a fine drizzle began to fall. Never see each other again. Gale has completely given up on me, Matthew said. Heather chuckled. What are you reminiscing about? She gave up on you a long time ago. When you were lying in the hospital, unable to pay the bills, it was our room who paid for you. She didn't spare a penny on you. I never treated her well. I didn't raise her. She hates me and ignores me. It's only natural. Heather scolded him. You're weak, incompetent. At this moment, Aram spoke up. I paid the money, but after 2 days, it was refunded to my account. What? Matthew was startled. I inquired at the hospital. All your medical expenses are recorded under Shawn's name, Aram said. Mr. Wood settled it? Yes, Aram nodded. She refuses to use her own name and insists on using Shawn's name. Matthew suddenly looked up, hoping to catch another glimpse of Gale. Unfortunately, it was futile. He could never see her again. At that moment, his phone rang with a message. It was a bank notification of a transfer. Matthew's vision blurred with tears. The money was enough for him to live a worry-free life for the rest of his days. Gale had truly fulfilled her basic filial duty toward him. The people I owe the most to are Mary and Gale, Matthew said. Chapter 1584. The ones he showed the most love and affection for were Heather and Natalie. Yet Natalie died. All those years of nurturing and upbringing got him nothing. Heather was ruthless, kidnapping his daughter. Aram looked at Heather, his eyes gradually becoming indifferent, devoid of any emotion. Gale let you go. You're really lucky, Aram said. What have you gained after all that? Heather, you wanted everything, and, in the end, got nothing. Natalie's blood is on your hands, Aram asked. Mr. Lefting, do you hate me too? Yes. Aram stepped forward, grabbing Heather's shoulders forcefully. It's because of you that I lost Gale. You personally ruined my engagement. If Heather had not taken Gale away, he could have married her. There would never be Shawn. He was Gale's childhood sweetheart, the one who was supposed to marry her. Thanks to Heather's interference, everything went haywire. Aram's eyes were filled with malevolence. His grip was so strong, it seemed like he could crush Heather's shoulder. Heather was frightened by Aram's demeanor. Her mouth was wide open. Matthew was also taken aback. After knowing Aram for so many years, it was the first time he saw Aram lose control. Unlike his current state, Aram had always been polite, a refined and mannered gentleman. Heather, I would have never wanted Natalie. What is she? I wanted Gale, the genuine heiress of the Yarn family, not that fake. You harmed her and harmed me. Gale said the biggest victims of this whole thing are her and Mary. She left me out. Aram hated Heather. Because of Heather's selfishness, he lost his love, the girl he yearned to marry. Heather stammered. Mr. Lefting, Natalie treated you well too. If you didn't insist on canceling the engagement, she wouldn't have taken it so hard, nor would she have done so many wrong things. You're still trying to argue. Aram forcefully shoved her aside. Heather took a step back, exclaimed, and fell backward. She crashed into a tombstone, then tumbled to the ground, her palms scraping the ground. She fell hard, feeling dizzy. It took a long time for her to recover, let alone get up. At the same time, the rain suddenly intensified. Raindrops the size of beans pounded the ground. In the sky, dark clouds gathered and thunder roared. Heather, are you okay? Matthew rushed forward to help her up. Heather mumbled. Mr. Lefting just pushed me. He's such a courteous person. How could he do something so unhinged? The rain started pouring heavily. Lightning rumbled throughout the land. Chapter 1585. The rain poured heavily, and the wind grew more intense. The entire cemetery was shrouded in gloom. Matthew hastily picked up the umbrella lying nearby, but he still got soaked. This is the only umbrella. What about Aram? He said. Matthew looked up and saw Aram walking through the rain without an umbrella. He just kept walking, looking like a soulless shell. The rain drenched Aram entirely. His shirt clung tightly to his body, and he was looking utterly disheveled. Yet Aram paid no attention and walked away resolutely. Aram, take the umbrella. Don't go. Wait for me. I'll give you the umbrella. Matthew shouted loudly, the entire cemetery echoing. Aram ignored it, still moving forward with large strides. Matthew stood there, staring at Aram's back. bewildered for a long time. Suddenly, he felt like he had lost Aram anymore. He was no longer the same as before. Aram had changed, but Matthew could not quite pinpoint how and when. Maybe it was because the truth about Gale's disappearance had hit Aram too hard. That might explain why Aram's emotions were so unstable. In a couple of days, Aram would probably recover, returning to the Aram he used to be. The rain intensified. Matthew supported Heather. "Let's go. We should leave too." Heather turned back, casting a deep glance at Natalie's memorial photo. Rainwater washed over the picture. When they descended the mountain, Matthew and Heather could not find Aram anywhere. The rain was torrential. Roadside trees swayed helplessly against the strong winds. Gale sat in the car, watching raindrops slide down the window. The car was quiet, isolating the raging storm outside. She rubbed her arms. "Cold?" Shawn, who was reviewing documents, immediately noticed. He adjusted the air conditioning temperature. "How about now?" He then took off his coat and draped it over her. She leaned against his shoulder, closing her eyes. "If the body is cold, wearing a piece of clothing can fix that. But if the heart is cold..." "How do you warm the heart?" Gale said softly. "Some people aren't worth the pain." "I'm worried about Mom," she sighed. "She gave her youth, her love, her marriage to Matthew. What did she get in the end?" "She got you, Gale. She lost everything, but she gained you," Shawn said, embracing her. "You're good at comforting people." "Just stating the facts." "Everyone hates Heather. Matthew also blames her, right?" Gale suddenly thought of something, looking up at him. "But Shawn, you are the beneficiary." He raised an eyebrow. "Me? Are you saying that because Heather took you away, I have the chance to snatch you from Aram, win you over, and marry you? Otherwise you would have remained Aram's fiancé." She smiled. "Exactly. Heather's twisted logic may sound twisted, but there's a tiny bit of truth in it for you." Chapter 1586. "No, Gale, if you had always been the heiress of the Yarn family, I would still have known you. There are only a few upper-class families in this city. I couldn't have missed you." "But our acquaintance would have been superficial. We wouldn't have interacted, and all of that wouldn't have happened." Shawn fell silent for a while. Finally he sighed. "In that case, I wish I never knew you. I don't want you to go through the pain and love you that way." It was Shawn's greatest regret. He threw her into a mental hospital and tortured her mentally and physically for 2 years. If Gale had not met him, none of that would have happened. Shawn hoped that they never met. She would be doing well, protected, and loved by others around her. Gale understood what he was thinking. "Back then, you thought my dad was the one who killed your father, and I was the daughter of your father's murderer. We both believed there was a blood feud between us," she said. "I shouldn't have harmed you and vented my anger." Shawn suddenly stopped. Gale looked up at him. "Shh." He smiled slightly. "Okay, I won't go on." Gale leaned back into his embrace. "I've been thinking about one thing on the way here. Can you guess what it is?" "You're thinking about how to bring up the divorce to your mother." "Shawn!" Why could he always see through her? How could he understand her so well? "Did I guess right?" Shawn asked. "Yes, I decided without telling her. I processed the divorce this afternoon. I don't know what she'll think. The sooner they divorce, the sooner she can have peace of mind," Gale murmured softly. "Just tell her directly. She'll understand." "People who love you will understand you." Gale nodded. As soon as she arrived at the hospital, Gale went straight to Mary's ward. As she pushed open the door, she found it empty. Where could Mary be? "Nurse, why isn't my mother in the ward?" Gale asked. She said she felt a bit bored after being stuck inside for so long and went downstairs for some fresh air. "How long has she been gone?" "It's been a while. Rest assured, Mrs. Yarn's current condition is quite stable now. There shouldn't be any issues," the nurse replied. "Thank you." She thought about calling her but was afraid of intruding on her personal time. After some thought, she decided to go to Joshua's ward. Before she reached the door, she heard laughter from inside. "Grandma, I want to eat this. Grandma, can you turn on the TV for me?" Chapter 1587. "This honeydew is so sweet. Grandma, have a taste." All right, lie down and don't move around. Your hand is still in a cast. I will feed you," Mary replied. "You're so good to me." Gale entered the ward. "Mom, you're here. I actually went to your room looking for you." Mary saw her and smiled. "I got bored being all alone, so I came over to accompany Joshua. Neither you nor Shawn were here. I am not comfortable leaving him in the care of others. I have requested Zoe to come and take care of him. She practically raised him. She's very experienced and familiar with Joshua," Gale said. Gale, too, would not feel at ease having someone else care for Joshua. With Zoe around, she felt completely reassured. Mary nodded. "I know. She's good, efficient, and kind. I can also chat with her to pass the time." Zoe smiled shyly beside them. "You flatter me. I feel genuinely happy for you when I see the whole family together." She witnessed Gale's journey from being a single pregnant mother to raising 2 children. She saw Gale through her loneliness, morning sickness, and insomnia, to having both children, a loving partner, and family. Back then, Gale had only Aram to depend on. He cared about her and helped her from a distance. However, Gale was proud and often rejected his help if she could. Zoe observed silently, feeling for her but not saying much. Now, the dust has settled, everything was good, and that was all that mattered. Mary held Zoe's hand and said, "Stay in touch in the future. The children like you. They want to be comfortable with others." Joshua added, "Yes, Grandma Zoe can stay with us in Sis City. Our house is big with many rooms. You will live in a huge suite." Zoe quickly waved her hand. "Joshua, you can't call me that in the future. I can't take it." "Why? I've always called you since coming to Sis City." "That was before. Things are different now." Back then, Zoe did not know Joshua's and Nicole's true identities as the noble heirs to the Wood family fortune. How could she dare continue to be called his grandma? Their grandmother should be the lady of the Wood family. She was a plain housemaid and could never live up to the title. Mary looked at her and asked, "Why? It's just a form of address. Joshua and now Nicole will call you that. Just agree to it." "It doesn't seem appropriate." "I think it's fine. Gale, what do you think?" "Yes, I think it's fine. Mrs. Zoe, you can drop the formalities. You are already family to me," Gale agreed. Zoe was moved and started to tear up. "I just did what I should have." "No, you helped me a lot. You were by my side during those difficult 4 years. When I brought Nicole back to Sis City for medical treatment, I left Joshua to you and caused you a lot of trouble. If it were not for Zoe, Gale would never have dared to leave her son behind. She would have never felt at ease, but with Zoe around, she could focus on taking care of Nicole's treatment without worries." Zoe said, "Why would it be troubling me? Joshua is so sensible and clever. I treat him like my own grandson. Mr. Lefting had always helped us when we were in this city. I haven't had to worry about much. Don't be so humble. We are indebted to you. Mary smiled. Gale held Zoe in higher regard than her biological father. Chapter 1588. Zoe has truly helped her a lot, and she could not do without her. The two children were also inseparable from her. Zoe was touched and nodded. Thank you all for caring about me. Mrs. Zoe, move to Temperley Hall from now on. Now Joshua and Nicole are both living there, and you don't need to go back to the Lefting family anymore, Gale said. Okay. I'll arrange for the driver to take you there and help you move your things. Zoe agreed. Then I'll go now. I'll say goodbye to Mr. Lefting. She used to work for the Lefting family, but was now offered a role in Temperley Hall. However, Zoe thought that he should not mind. They saw Zoe off. Mary sighed. She has shared a lot of your troubles in the past 4 years. It's been really hard on both of you. It's not that hard, Mom. I've been well. You've always liked to put on such a strong front. Can't you put your guard down? Play coquettish once in a while? Don't endure everything by yourself. Shawn made a snort of approval. Mom, you are absolutely right. Right? You think so too? She needs to change her personality. Why should a girl be so strong? Gale, you have support. You can be a bit vulnerable. Mary paused. She realized that Shawn had started calling her mom. She smiled. Pamper her more and spoil her endlessly. Don't give her a chance to be independent and strong, Mary said. Shawn responded, Okay, I'll try my best, I promise. Mom, people usually want their kid to be strong and independent, and you're saying the opposite. Come on, Gale grumbled. You have a husband who don't own you. You don't need it anymore. She muttered even more softly. You can't completely rely on a husband either. Neither Mary nor Shawn heard her clearly. What did you say? Nothing. Gale hastily shook her head. She deliberately muttered it. How would she dare to repeat herself? If Shawn heard that, it would be a disaster. Joshua spoke up. She said a husband isn't completely reliable. I heard it. His voice rang out loud and clear. Gale was speechless. She had only heard of men going against their wives, but now to see that a son dared to go against his mother? How unthinkable. She glared fiercely at Joshua, almost as if she were a wicked stepmother glaring at her stepson. She wanted to pinch him so badly. Shawn's eyes narrowed. Husbands are not reliable? No. I didn't say that. It was Joshua who said it. She refused to admit it. Joshua cut in. Big Beauty, why are you so spineless? You dare to stand up to what you said? I heard it loud and clear. I'm just repeating you. I didn't say it. You heard it wrong. Don't lie. Gale retorted. I definitely didn't hear it wrong. You definitely heard it wrong, Joshua shouted. I absolutely did not hear wrong. Mother and son argued, almost turning it into a brawl. All right. What's this about? Gale, you are an adult. Don't act like a child. Mary finally intervened. Chapter 1589. Joshua made a face. Blarg. Gale glared at him again. She thought it was over, but Shawn would not let it slide. What exactly did you mean by that statement just now? She just meant you're not reliable. What, hearing it once isn't enough? You want to be heard twice? Joshua answered. Gale resolutely denied. No! Shawn looked at her and asked, Then what did you mean? I meant... Gale's eyes darted around, and she quickly replied, I meant having a reliable husband is really nice. Is it? Yes. Gale looked at him resolutely. She needed to believe in herself to make others believe her. Shawn grunted lowly. Better be. Gale secretly sighed in relief, narrowly avoiding a crisis. Why were Joshua's ears so sharp? How did he hear her so clearly? Ah, can't believe you all doubted me and chose to believe her? Joshua sighed heavily. If it were not for Mary being here, Gale would have definitely pinched his ears. However, Mary also had enough. She gently pinched Joshua's cheek. Are you intentionally trying to cause a rift between your dad and mom? They are trying to reconcile, and you behaved like a troublemaker instead of a peacemaker. Grandma, he's indeed my biological dad, but I don't consider him my dad. Take it slow. You both haven't gotten to know each other. You'll eventually call him Dad, Mary said. Joshua blinked. Grandma, have you already considered Shawn to be your son-in-law? Yes. Why did you accept him so easily? Are you sure he treats your daughter well? Mary laughed uncontrollably. You little mischief. You're indeed quite different from Nicole, Gale said. Joshua, are you done? Gale thought it would be great if he lost his voice for a bit, maybe even a month. As long as he had his voice, he would not give anything a rest. Joshua suddenly looked very aggrieved. Big Beauty, you're already sick of me? You don't even want to listen to me speak. You're prioritizing your husband over your son. It's true that each family can only have a leader. I'm just an extra here, so dispensable. You all prefer Nicole over me. She's obedient, cute, gentle, unlike me, a stinky old man. Sigh. Joshua looked sad and gazed out of the window dramatically. Gale could not be bothered to deal with his antics. Gale pulled Mary aside, whispering, Mom, I have something to tell you. What's the matter? I wasn't at the hospital this morning because I went to Natalie's funeral. Mary looked momentarily surprised, then nodded. Gale bit her lip before continuing. At Natalie's funeral, Heather admitted that back then, she was the one who abducted me. It was her? Mary looked shocked, and a surge of hatred overwhelmed her. It was really her. Chapter 1590. When Mary learned that Heather was the woman Matthew cheated on, she had her suspicions. Never did she think Heather would actually go to such lengths. Heather admitted it herself. She guarded this secret for so long, but finally, under pressure, she revealed the truth, Gale said. She truly is malicious. Mary trembled with anger. She found it hard to hold her emotions back. I raised her daughter for more than 20 years, only to be manipulated by her until the very end. She took away my daughter to give hers an upper hand in life. Gale quickly patted her back gently. Mom, don't be angry. It's not worth it to waste your energy on someone like her. She already has Matthew's favor and gave birth to a daughter. As a mistress, what more does she possibly want? She should have come to me directly. I would have given up the position of Mrs. Yarn to her. Why did she have to target you? Mom, do you still want to be Mrs. Yarn? Gale asked. Of course not. I want a divorce from Matthew. If he refuses, I'll sue him and sue Heather. How could she do such unspeakable, ungodly things? Gale was waiting for this moment. He agreed to divorce you. He will initiate proceedings this afternoon. Mom, I agreed to it on your behalf, so, Gale said. She glanced at the clock. It was 2 in the afternoon. The Civil Affairs Bureau was now back in operations. You need to go there now. Just get this marriage over with as soon as possible. Mary did not expect it to happen so quickly. She was stunned for a moment, but quickly regained her composure and nodded. Okay. She wanted to end this marriage long ago. From now on, you have no relationship with Matthew. He has chosen to live with Heather. Don't be sad for him. Gale was still worried. Breaking a 30-year marital bond suddenly might be hard for her mother to accept. So she deliberately emphasized that Matthew had chosen Heather. Mary laughed self-deprecatingly. I've been thinking all this while that my life was perfect, barring your disappearance. I had a diligent and ambitious husband who managed the company well, and an obedient and virtuous daughter who was marrying into a good family. However, it was all fake. I was just a fool who was kept in the dark. Let the divorce happen. I have no attachment to him. I haven't wanted to be his wife for a long time. I don't want others to call me his wife anymore. I am just me. I am Mary. I am the daughter of the Yarn family. Your mother, the grandmother of Joshua and Nicole. Gale nodded. Yes, that's right. Mom, first and foremost, you are yourself. Then all your identities are second to that. As your daughter, my biggest wish is for you to be happy. Mary patted her hand. We won't talk about these things anymore. I'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau first and terminate this marriage. Mary, who came from a prestigious family, always spoke gently. To hear her use harsh terms like terminate surprised Gale for a moment. She burst into laughter. Mom, I see you have this dark side to you too. Can't I vent my emotions? Of course you can. Go, Mom. You can terminate your marriage, Gale responded. Mary nodded. Yes, after being his wife for so many years, I can finally be myself again. I've done so much. I gave him my family name and managed the home for him. Men always follow their mistresses. Mom, you have me. Mary touched her head. With you and my grandchildren, I am already content. God has been kind to me.